Welcome to the Sci-Fi Guys. As always, I'm your host, Dave, and I got with me John and Chad. Today, this is actually our 1 year anniversary. We started this thing exactly a year ago. Not exactly, not to the date, but, we started our podcasting journey about a year ago, and we started it. I was wearing this shirt, exactly. We started it doing A New Hope, and so we're like, hey, what a perfect time for The Empire Strikes Back. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. Not the 40th anniversary. We're going to be talking about The Empire Strikes Back. It's now, I don't know, I think the 40th was, let's see, it started in 77 was the first one. Empire
80s.
was 81. So I can't do math. So we're not going to go there. So anyway,
We got a teacher on this podcast.
yeah.
I was about to say if it came out in 81, then 2021 was 40 years. 2031 would be 50.
Okay,
I got you.
So we're at like what 13, 14 years. 30. 43.
42.
42-ish.
Well, 43. I forgot it's 2024. My bad.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. So let's jump right into this movie. We all know who was in this movie. We know what the movie was all about because we're not going to recap all of that. But we will go ahead and ask some. Yeah, we'll go ahead and ask some questions here. Okay. So, first question. Yoda states that the light side of the Force is only used for knowledge and for defense. So, if someone were to use the Force to capture a criminal, would that be considered using the dark side? And I will pick John. How about you, John? Why don't you start with this deep question?
Yeah, let's get real technical with Force usage here. So I think the use of the Force is where this gets complicated. Is that whole physical idea? If you're capturing a criminal, then the capture is technically just physical use, which would technically make it the dark side. However, if you're capturing the criminal to capture knowledge, then that would still technically fall under the knowledge. And if you're doing so to defend people, then it is still also defense. Therefore, I think there's a lot more gray area than Yoda gives credit to the Force for. And I think there's a lot more to the light side than just knowledge and defense. I mean, you look at the Star Wars universe as a whole, it definitely gets fleshed out a lot more in terms of what the light side does to accomplish goals. And so, specifically, capturing a criminal, I wouldn't consider that dark side usage, depending on what is happening with said criminal after capture and, what led up to that.
Hey, Chad, how about you?
I agree with that. I mean, you can't just use defense and not capture. You gotta you gotta have a good defense and good offense. So you got to go on offense to try to get ahead and think how he's going to do it. But it's a lot of gray area. Even Yoda, oh, great. The light side was for defense and knowledge. Dark side was more offense and hurting people. So if you're trying to stop people, why wouldn't you draw? Hey, I got to find something, how to stop them.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I mean, I'm with you. I just think that when George Lucas was he had basically wrote this for the storyline, I don't think he really had a grasp of what the Force was, you know. And I just think that was a line that they used to say, well, bad is bad and good is good. So be good, and
you gotta look at this. With the movies, these original trilogy came out in the late 70s, 80s. Nobody knew nothing about Star Wars. Nobody knew nothing on the Force. So they were still working things out and explaining, even though they didn't think this was going to be a sequel like this is. They thought it was going to be a one and done, and just it's there, and it's going to leave everybody hanging. So nobody knew who Vader was. Why was he carrying a red lightsaber and Luke was carrying a green or blue? Like the they didn't know about the colors. They didn't know the light side of the Force and the dark side. It was just it was finally mentioned when Yoda said it, light and dark.
Mhm. Yeah, I will totally back you on that, chat. I think they were just kind of fiddling around as they were going through and just trying to figure it out as they went along. And even when you go back and look at stuff, continuity was not big on back in the 70s. Heck, even in the 60s. If you go back and look at Star Trek, there was so much stuff that just from one episode to the other just didn't make any. You're like, wait, but what about before? What happened then? And it didn't work. So, all right, let's go with the next question because that was kind of deep. That was kind of all right. Okay, what's up with Princess Leia? Okay, let's get a little funny here. All right, she
All right.
doesn't know whether she likes Luke or if she likes Han. All right, is she just using one to make the other jealous, or is she actually just playing the field? So, Chad, go ahead.
I think that she's using one to make jealous, and we all know who she really liked there. She you saw her worrying at the end when Han was getting carbon freezing. So you knew it was leading up to Han all day, all time. You could, even though it led to be, everybody thought, oh, it's gonna be Luke, it's gonna be Luke, but then you didn't know no chemistry. It was all Han to me.
Okay, John.
Listen, I definitely think she was after Han the whole time. I just, from the back end perspective, if Lucas wrote basically all three sets of the trilogies, like all 9 movies, all thinking about that storyline, and he still chose to make what happened in this film happen in this film, then it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. I
Because
honestly think
that's just
I
too
think
much.
he
Because
had
I
a
get the character building.
yeah, I think he had a general knowledge or a general idea of what he wanted to do. The specifics is where he probably didn't have all that worked out, and then had the whole oh, you kiss your sister, or I sorry, spoiler alert that's in Return of the Jedi. Uh,
But
but yeah, I mean, if you wrote out the whole of the whole trilogy, that's just it's creepy. Really, it really is creepy.
I don't think he really intended to be Leia and Luke to be brother and sisters. It was just Yoda slept up, messed up when, remember when Luke was leaving and said, "Hey, if this fails, we're done." And Obi-Wan said,
No,
"No,
Obi Wan said no, and then Yoda said there is
there's
another.
another." So yeah,
Yeah,
Yoda says that no, we're done, and Yoda said, "There's another." So
well, that's why.
it brought that up. So you don't know if it's a brother or sisters.
True, true. I mean, well, and you don't know that there is. It doesn't necessarily have to be the son or daughter of Anakin either. He just said that there is another. That just means there's someone else that can fill the role of being the next Jedi. To if
Yeah.
Luke something happens to Luke.
Yeah.
It didn't necessarily. They didn't necessarily write it into. Hey, it has to be a sibling, which of course there we won't when we eventually 10 years from now or whenever it is that we get down to you know Revenge of the Sith, episode 3, you'll see so much. One of my favorite parts, plot holes. Wait till we get to that part,
Mm.
for that movie, because so much of it just doesn't make sense. It's like you had the original trilogy, where the ending is going to be, and yet you didn't really tell a good story to get there. So, all right.
Yeah.
So we're still on Dagobah. Let's go ahead and stay on Dagobah now for a little bit, since you mentioned Yoda earlier, and I mentioned Yoda. Okay, so what would have happened if Luke went into the cave, but he didn't bring his weapons with him? What would have happened when he faced Vader? I'll go ahead and start since I didn't really talk that much on the last one. Well, I can tell y'all are thinking about it. I really think if you'll remember in the movie, Luke raised his lightsaber first, and then Vader reacted to it. I think because he brought his weapon in there, it immediately caused conflict. I think if he would have brought it in there, he would have seen Vader as himself, but without the head falling off, or just maybe the mask would come off. I think there would have been a dialogue there or something. Hey, can you tell me about? I mean, it might have even been, hey, can you tell me about my father? And then he could have taken the mask off and said, I am your father, or something like that, at that point, rather than the reveal later on. What do y'all?
I think that, and I agree with that. It could be some kind of dialogue, but I still say the reveal later on was much more impactful there than it would have been at that time, because he was told that his father was killed by Obi-Wan's apprentice Vader. It didn't say Vader was his father. It was just Vader. It left it wide open in the first movie and in this movie right now. Because if you think about it, if you spoiler alert, like you watch the series now, it was never mentioned. Like it in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I know we're getting into something that we haven't watched, and I don't know if John, but in battle scene, Vader did tell Obi-Wan, "You didn't do this. You didn't kill Anakin. I did." It left that line saying Vader killed Anakin. And it was and it kind of left it kind of that in that way.
That kind of fixed what they messed up on in episode 3. So.
Yeah. So they fixed stuff, but I think it would have been a dialogue. Hey, tell me about how like why did you do this? Or there's more dialogue. Like, hey, why did you do this, Vader? Why did you kill my father? Or why did you go from the light to the dark? Because that way it would have been more interesting to know.
Mm-hmm.
And then comes to find out at the very end scene, like we've seen, Vader did that twist that I am your father. You saw the look on Luke's face like, when he realized it was true. Like
no, that's impossible. Yeah.
That was the most picturesque part right there. Oh no, it is true.
Well, actually, during the filming, none of the other cast knew. Not even David Prowse, who was Darth Vader. He didn't even know. He just was. They were like, put your arm like this, put your arm like this. They told Mark Hamill because they were like, we want the true reaction of everyone. You need to act like this guy. And then when they told him, he was like, oh, that's good. Oh, that's really good. And then that's why he acted the way he did, because he was the only one on set that knew it, other than James Earl Jones, because he's the one that had to voice it.
Yeah.
So John, what about you? You got any differences on that, or?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I think if he goes in the cave without a lightsaber, I definitely think, like you said, the cave reacts differently on the whole. And I definitely think seeing future force projections, as I'll call them, or the quote-unquote ghosts, I think you don't bring the lightsaber to the fight. They don't necessarily, but also if you bring it to the fight, I think they're full game, because I think the force ghosts get kind of bored. They're in the afterlife. They need something to do. So if you're willing, man, they'll double down.
Yeah.
I definitely think that's what we see here.
Okay. All right, and I guess I got a final question here. Okay, so the Rebel fleet is on the run. So they have destroyed the Death Star. Now they're on the run because the Empire wasn't just the Death Star. The Empire was all over the galaxy or whatever. And now they are out frantically searching for the Rebel Alliance. Okay, so imagine that you're the Rebel Alliance. You set up, you constantly are on the run. Wouldn't you take into account the setup and teardown for setting up your base? So my question is, why did they pick Hoth? I mean, there are thousands of other planets out there that can support life. Because actually, if you go and look at it, you have the core planets, which are the ones closest together. Then you have the mid rim, which is actually where Hoth was. Hoth was on the mid rim. Then you had the outer rim. So you had all these planets to hide at. Why pick something that is so inhospitable and so hard to set up and so hard to tear down that, you know, I don't know. Tell me your thoughts.
Okay, so I've got two ways to approach this. The first way is in defense of their choice, and the only defense I can think of is the best kept secret is the one that you tell no one. And so if they're the only ones on the planet, then I mean it makes sense that it's a little easier to keep a secret, because if you're anywhere near civilization, which I understand, there are probably other better planets that would have still had no civilization while still being able to support them. However, at the end, a lot of these planets, even the outer rim, a lot of them are civilized if they have any sort of resources. So, and again, best kept secret is the one you keep to yourself. And so if they're the only ones there, it's a lot easier to keep that secret. Now, completely and utterly against them, this is one of the stupidest choices they made. And I mean, the rebellion made a lot of stupid choices. I mean, find a friendly civilization somewhere, gas up, keep going as far as you can, just put some distance there, rebuild your resources, something, man. Just to sit here and go on a nice planet and hunker down, just not the call. Not when you're running away.
What? Think about this. I agree for defensive. I mean, only people there, yeah. But you have other planets. Why choose the middle rim or middle? Go to the outer rim where the Empire wasn't really around. That way, you have your main base there. You have satellite bases out, and that way, hey, I can go here and at least get away and rest and come back, regroup. I don't know. It's just it seems like it was more. Yeah, it's a movie trying to keep the fight scenes, keep the suspense going. It's just like every time you see them on the run, they're in the ships running away from something. They're never on a planet with only one ground scene you see. You see Battle of Hoth and in the Return of the Jedi. Very little on there, but you see more on the Hoth.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I honestly think the rebellion didn't do it. The writers did it because visually it was fantastic. It really was, you know, especially when in the first movie you had Tatooine, which was just so dusty, dirty, just, you know, it was a desert planet. And then, you know, you didn't see much of Yavin 4. I mean, they got into Yavin 4 at the very end and they took off, you know, and then so what other planets do you have on this in this movie? You have Dagobah, which is all like growth and
Marshland.
marsh and everything. And then you had a planet city in the sky. So I really think they wanted something visually that would just really take you back, you know. Plus, hey, I have over here on my wall, I got all my little original 3.5 Kenner Star Wars figures from the first two movies. And you know, you want to sell more toys, so you got the AT-AT Commander, you got the AT-AT Driver, you got the Snow Troopers. You know, it's just more stuff for the Empire to spend their money on. But but now we are at the part of the movie, one of my favorites. Plot holes. Yes, I'm gonna try to pick some plot holes. I mean, that wasn't just goofs, you know. Like for example, a goof in the movie when you saw Vader and Luke out on that strand, that what do you call it, that bar out there when after
Yeah,
when
as
when
he loses his hand.
when he lost his hand. If you actually go back and watch it, you can see you can't see the fan, but you can see Vader's helmet kind of going like loose on his head. I mean, and it's just like velcroed on there. It's the funniest thing. I never noticed it before. Now that you know when you and for those of you out there that are looking, and when you want to do something like we're doing right here, and you're critiquing one of your favorite movies, you'll never look at your favorite movie again. I'm sorry to say. So, Empire is one of my favorite movies, but now there's a lot of stuff I just can't unsee, and I'm like, well, where did that come from? How did they get rid of that? So, did either of you guys see any plot holes before I tell you a couple of the ones that I saw?
Well, the plot hole I see, and we'll go back in the Hoth where Luke is captured by that creature.
Okay.
He sliced the creature's hand off with his lightsaber. Why didn't he just go ahead and, I know he's supposed to not to kill, but he's in his defense. He leaves that cave from being probably warmth to cold. I mean, why wouldn't you try to stay there and be warm for a minute? Get your senses back together.
Because maybe he thought there was more than one.
Maybe, but you only saw one. It was more than one. Why didn't you didn't see it or come running when you heard a scream? If you hear your buddy scream out for bloody murder, wouldn't you become running trying to help?
Yeah, I guess. I think I would.
So it was probably just one. He could have just kept it at bay.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
Yeah.
John, anything you saw that just kind of jumped at you like that's a plot hole?
I have a few. I mean, other than the kiss and the whole planet thing we've discussed already. As a whole, Chewbacca seeming dumb in other areas of life, like putting together C-3PO.
That's on my list.
Yeah, like my man's
I was gonna
fixing the
ask that.
Millennium Falcon. He's capable.
And then he put C-3PO's head on backward. I mean, I honestly think they had to have done it just for comedic value.
But it was on purpose.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Either that or he just really hated C-3PO, which, I mean, okay.
Yeah,
enough.
He did.
I was going to say the strangling of Lando by Chewie, too. Like, man, you ain't got much time, buddy. Quit stopping to handle that issue and move on. Mm-hmm. And then the last one I had, help me recall overall, was there purpose in freezing Han? Was it for the bounty?
No, it was really
John.
for the test, make sure Han's liquid survived, because Vader was planning on freezing Luke to take him back to the Emperor. So it was just
okay, there it is.
Guinea pig.
Okay, fair enough. So I was like, part of me was like, man, why didn't they just kill Han if we're so into him? That's a good reminder. But yeah, the other two are my main two that I saw, other than the kiss and Hoth. So
yeah, so I don't know if anybody watched back. I know probably Dave, you probably watched the her stuff, but you know in the first all throughout these movies, you hear people like hearing Chewbacca speak, and that's all he doesn't speak. He just but they answer him. They actually talked on set. That way, Han, they were back and forth talking. They knew this. That's why they knew how they was what he was saying.
Yeah, the actual actor had lines inside the suit. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you guys don't have any more, I've got a couple. Let me. The first one started. I mean, literally the very moment the movie started, when the title scroll or the title crawl started going up there, and it stated that the Empire was after Luke Skywalker for destroying the Death Star. The rebellion is not going to just say, hey, meet Luke Skywalker. He destroyed the Death Star. No, they're going to keep that a secret. How did they find that out? I mean, yes, later on in the movie, we have the Emperor that talks about it. But in the title crawl and why they were out searching for this person, Skywalker, doesn't make sense. Because it really wasn't, I don't know. Yeah, how did they? I learned the identity of the rebel pilot. I have no idea, but I mean, if they would have just said in the title crawl, the Empire was searching the remnants of the rebellion, boom, that would have taken care of it right there. Don't say Luke Skywalker's name, and then when the Emperor says, "Oh, the son of Anakin Skywalker," and that brings me to another plot hole. if his name is Anakin Skywalker, why are you going to name him Luke Skywalker? I mean, come on. It's not like it's named Johnson or Washington or some very common name, you know. It's Skywalker. That I mean, unless in the in this universe that there are millions of Skywalkers out there.
Well, again, here's this. I do IT and I do security stuff. The thing is your best security is in your face, where you is blatantly, hey, oh, there it is. And you don't see it. Obscurity. So yeah, I think they went to Luke Skywalker because they gave him to his aunt and uncle, so they were both named Skywalker. They just took the name. Why name him Luke? Why even just say, hey? Because Leia was Leia Organa. It wasn't Leia Skywalker.
Yeah, what actually Baru and Lars, that's their names.
Yeah.
Their last name is not Skywalker. It's Owens.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, okay, and I understand you want to say it's that's his aunt and uncle. I get that, but then just don't make it Skywalker. Make it something different. I just don't get it. You know, I'm like, all right, that was a big plot hole for me.
It's the writers. It's
Yeah,
writers.
writing. I honestly, well, they originally wanted to call him Luke Star Killer, and they didn't want to use the word killer in there, because if you actually go back to when they did the Force Unleashed, the game, they actually named the guy Star Killer.
Star Killer, and that's
because they wanted to go ahead and keep it because they're like, well, we already got the name, so let's just use it.
Well, but the thing is, Star Killer. It was also, if you look at the sequel, Star Killer Base.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I got a couple quick ones. One, all about Dagobah. All right, so when Luke crashes his plane or his X-wing into the swamp, and he sets up his little camp, how does he get all that stuff out of the X-wing? First of all, how does it fit in there? And then it kind of shows him putting it underneath it, but it went in like this. He'd have to be swimming under the water to get those extra boxes if they were. And then when he was taking off and leaving, you notice he climbed up a ladder and then got in, and the canopy started closing. Where'd the ladder go? Did he just throw it on the ground? You know?
He had the Force by then. He's fine.
He jumped. He force jumped.
I mean, I'm just saying that probably was just a goof, but it still bugged me. And then the final one was no. I got to look. Oh yeah, Obi-Wan directs Luke Skywalker to the Dagobah system to develop his skills in the Force under Yoda, whom Obi-Wan states instructed him in the ways of the Jedi. Plot hole: when you go to Episode 1, Yoda was not his master. Qui-Gon Jinn was. So Qui-Gon Jinn. Sorry, I pronounced it wrong. Yeah, there you go. Which one was it? Was it Yoda? Was it Qui-Gon? Make up your mind.
See, here's this. Like I said, this was 77 was supposed to have been the only one out there. That's why they was called it Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. That's why they called it Star Wars. And then on the title crawl, it said A New Hope.
New Hope.
And then if you actually look at the like the Empire Strikes Back, I don't want to take my camera out and move it, but it actually says the Empire Strikes Back, and then it has Star Wars on it real small around the outside. They realized at that point, hey, we need to market this as Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. So that's when they started with episode whatever, the next one.
So the thing is, they didn't come out with, you didn't know that Obi-Wan was trained by Qui-Gon Jinn, so it wasn't really a lie, but Yoda did instruct Obi-Wan how to be a Force ghost.
Okay, don't even say depending on your point of view. Because that comes into the next movie, that whole Jedi point of view garbage. The last one is, and I don't know if it was not in the original. It was in the special edition after they fixed it. When Han Solo was going down into, there was a goof there where one moment he has a vest on, then the next moment he doesn't. If you want to go back and watch it, you'll notice that. You're like, what? He had a vest on? Now he doesn't? You never see him take it off. But his hands were supposedly cuffed, right? In the one you watch on Disney Plus now, you'll see an Ugnaught actually walk in front of him and kind of fiddle with there. But you don't see him take them off, and you still see his hands there. But then when he gets frozen, his hands are up like this, and you still see a strap around his body. But then when he thaws, there's no cuffs.
No cuffs.
So
vest on.
Yeah, why did they take the cuffs off to freeze him? I mean, again, that's just. I think it's just. I don't know. They wanted the cool look of the. So, who knows? Oops, push the wrong button. Now, with that, we're going to try to. Okay, fixing or improving. Is there anything besides the plot holes and the little minor details? We're not going to rehash all that. Is there anything that you guys, I mean, yes, we know this is the series and the story, and we're not going to fix episode 1, 2, or 3, or
No.
8, 9, or 10, or any of that stuff. What would you say just this movie standalone? How would you fix it or improve it? I hear a Well, while y'all are thinking about that, I can go ahead and say one part is I honestly the whole asteroid thing when the Falcon was going in there, and 3PO is telling him the odds. I'm sorry, his luck is not that good. I honestly just think, it was cool visually, but it really wasn't needed. It was just another thing that just kind of lengthened it. It's like, okay, now you want to get Han and Leia alone in a ship, and then you got these things flying around. I mean, I would just take all that whole thing out. Okay, let them fly through there, miss a couple of them, come out, boom, and then they're gone. I love the whole garbage shoot thing. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was a smart way to disappear. Although I think the Empire was stupid for not realizing that. Well, he disappeared. Do you have sensors that says he went to light speed, or did he just disappear? I don't know.
That's the thing. You saw where he was sitting at, and you saw all those other Star Destroyers floating around. Why wouldn't somebody just, he's on the back of your ball back there, buddy?
But, you see, they don't, I mean, think about it. If you're in space, you're not going to have, you very rarely will have windows. And what is the chances of one of them being in the right position in that particular place where there's a window? So that's why I'll give them a benefit of the doubt for that.
Yeah.
But I didn't like that Boba Fett Slave 1 immediately started up and started following them. I think that they should have had sensors that says, "Hey, we're being followed."
Yeah.
Because they knew in the first movie, "Hey, we got TIE fighters coming. They're on our sensors or they're on our scopes." And it showed that he was pretty close. So
the thing is, I don't think they was looking for somebody. I think, all right, they jump. We're good. Let's go.
Yeah. Again, that's one of those things. I think they should have had Boba Fett show up later, not trail them or if they are, and then okay, I do have a thing. The whole point of the torture, when Han even says they didn't ask me any questions, it was just to make pain. How did they know Luke would find that much in through the Force his friend's pain?
Well,
to me, I think they should have explained something, or had the Emperor just say, you need to get his friends and cause pain to them. Then Luke's, then this will kindle something in the Force with him, or something like that, just to let us know what's going on. Because it just seemed really like, why? I mean, how did they know? So,
Yeah.
all right. Anything, John? I keep seeing you unmute you. You're ready.
No, yeah, that's fine. It's just the major thing I could think of maybe is I could always take more aerial battles, which I guess are space battles at this point with the ships and all. I could definitely deal with more of that. But also, I guess I honestly could deal with more force usage, both pre and after Dagobah, because I feel like Dagobah could have been more of like honing the force as opposed to just discovering it per se. Which I know he didn't discover it there because that happens in episode 4. But like in general, just feel like we could have had more of that as opposed to the process we ultimately ended up with. And again, I think he could have used it more after that training, even though the training was technically cut short because he leaves. I think
Yeah, but Luke,
that's
you're right. Luke did.
one of the
I mean,
major improvements.
he worked on all those things with floating items and all this, and when he met Vader, the only thing he used was his lightsaber and jumping up out of the thing.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I could have used a lot more force.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
Oh, here's this. I know it's not a plot hole, and I should have said it. Well, you guys, who? Well, you had 3PO, C3PO, and you had R2D2, all in the same, not in the same area, but 3PO was there. Who built them?
Yeah, that was, but they wouldn't know that because
No,
they got their brains wiped
yeah.
or their positronic
Well,
matrix or whatever.
R2 didn't.
After Anakin, I'm sure he did. They never said that, but
But you gotta think, why does R2 always follow Luke?
well, again, we weren't doing plot holes when we did A New Hope. And that would have been a plot hole there because Obi-Wan Kenobi worked with R2D2 for
Yeah.
many years. So, and then he's like, I don't recall owning a droid.
Yeah.
Again, that was just one of those that they messed up the prequels and the Clone Wars and all those good things. Although some of those are still fun. I mean, I'm in the middle of watching the Bad Batch, the most current season, and it's pretty decent. At this point, the Clone Wars are all over, and the clones are slowly being
phased out
and experimented on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So we're gonna do a new section here. We're actually going to. Before we used to rate it thumbs up, thumbs down, we're going to rate this on a scale of 0 to 5 lightsabers. Got that new graphic there. So each of us are going to go around the room, or we're all in different rooms, but around the screen, I guess you could say. And we are going to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 5 lightsabers. 0 is you didn't really enjoy the movie. 5, you really absolutely loved it. So we're going to start with you, Chad. 0 to 5 lightsabers.
I like
5 lightsabers. All right. All right. John, on you. 0 to 5 lightsabers.
In a world of lightsabers, I have to give this like a solid 4.5. I know that's between 4 and 5.
That's
but
fine.
There's enough room for improvement, and it's not quite my favorite Star Wars overall, especially in the original trilogy, but I definitely do enjoy it.
I am actually going to go a little bit lower than you, John, now that I'm looking at this with a critical eye. And I will say 4 lightsabers. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but there are some things I think that they missed on. And I just think the Empire was one of those movies. All right, so A New Hope basically set everything in motion. Empire was that middle movie where it had to do so much to get ready for the next one. So that's kind of how I got that. All right. So everyone, if you guys will. Yeah, contact us, please. You guys can send us a text. No, you can't send us a text because I'm not giving you my phone number. You can see on the bottom of the screen, I got the little ticker going down there. You can get us on Twitter at TheseSciFiGuys. You can email us, TheseSciFiGuys@gmail.com, or right here on YouTube. We're at TheseSciFiGuys. Now, if there's a movie you guys want to see, please put it down in the comments. Tell us. We would love for you guys to like and subscribe to all these movies. Yeah, right. To all these pods that we're doing, and it would help our algorithm to. We've actually recently just started picking up, which we were very surprised at, because we're just three guys that just love science fiction. So, and we're not the only three guys. So we're actually going to have a bonus episode here coming up next. We are meeting up with those sci-fi guys. So we are these sci-fi guys. They are those sci-fi guys. So our next one was actually going to be a crossover episode that we're going to do with those guys. And we're going to talk about all kinds of fun stuff. We're going to do some trivia. We're going to do just kind of a get to know you, because I've only met them really through email. John and Chad have never met them before, so it's just kind of going to be a get to know you guys. But also, before we get out of here, our next one that we're going to do, just these sci-fi guys, is going to be Inception. So I'm really looking forward to that, because I have not seen.
You're ready to break your minds.
Yeah, this is a trippy movie. You know,
you gotta pay attention.
Definitely one that you're going to have to pay attention, especially, the way we're now looking at this thing kind of with a critical eye. I'm really enjoying it, looking forward to seeing that and seeing how it turns out. So with that being said, peace.